Well, happy Advent. I don't know if that's an appropriate phrase, actually, happy Advent. Maybe what we should say is something more like, watch out, people. It's Advent. In the world of retail and consumption, we are most certainly in a pre-Christmas season. Maybe we're in Christmas season already, I'm not sure. But not so in the church. Advent is not a pre-Christmas season. In fact, Christmas is a fairly late development in the church. In Advent, we look forward to the coming of Christ in glory. We look forward to an end and a beginning. Advent is a descent into darkness and the death of what was, and the joyful promise of new light. So maybe it's fitting that this Advent brings us some dire climate reports from the UN and, ironically, from Washington. Dire reports of potential catastrophe. And maybe this is good news. First of all, maybe we're finally almost beginning to be ready to acknowledge the extent of darkness that we've descended into. This Tower of Babel that we've so proudly been building. And we know what we need to do to save ourselves. And it means the death of what was. Unworkable, unsustainable paradigms. And with that, the promise of new light. Pretty scary stuff all the same. How do we respond to this kind of news, especially as people of faith? How are we to respond? First of all, the tradition of the church is not one that encourages passivity. When we pray, give us grace to cast away the works of darkness, what we're saying is, help us to see what we've done wrong and change. And when we pray with the Psalms, and the Psalms are prayer, we are praying, let the treacherous be disappointed in their schemes. And before we panic, freak out, you hear Jesus say, be on guard that your hearts are not weighted down by drunkenness, dissipation, and worry. Notice he puts worry right on par with drunkenness. Do we sometimes act addicted to worry? Do we sometimes worry ourselves into a stupor? Watch out for that, says Jesus. Still all the same, how do we respond? How do we pay attention to reality and see light in it? You've all heard that expression, put the Christ back in Christmas. All well and good, but maybe it misses the mark a little bit. Maybe we could think about putting the Mass back in Christmas. The Mass, the sacred, the prayer, the praxis, the deep prayer. Not prayer as just words that fly off a page, but deep, wordless prayer. Opening, humility, resting on bedrock. Deep prayer. spiritually, we're called to be preppers, to be prepared and grounded for whatever happens. You remember the story Jesus told about the bridesmaids waiting for the arrival of the bridegroom. And he comes in the middle of the night and they all light their lamps, but some of them have no oil in their lamps. So they miss it. Having oil in the lamp is doing the work of preparing, of grounding. If something terrible happens tomorrow, or if you get a winning lottery ticket tomorrow, either way, we're knocked off balance if we're not first grounded. Is that enough? In the face of everything, is that enough to be grounded in deep prayer? No, it's not. But it is the foundation. It's the foundation upon which everything else rests, around which everything turns, upon which everything relies. Your prayer. Trust it. Practice it. Start now. No time to lose. Amen.